High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly. Tuck waits one. Deep left field. Down the line. That ball is out of here. Out of here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tablesetters, covering all things Major League Baseball. As always, I'm Steve, joined by my tag team partner, Devin. What's going on, man?
What's up? What's up? Episode 85 here. We're just about almost a third of the way through the Major League Baseball season. Kind of a little mark to look at and really see what we think. NCAA bracket is out there. College baseball, a little madness about to start there here at the end of May. So lots of stuff to talk about in the baseball world.
Memorial Day is usually one of those benchmarks, the true believers of if your team is going to be competitive. I know things have shifted, obviously, with the extra playoff spots. It's not really the benchmark we used to look at it as, but at the very least, it is a checkpoint a third of the way through the season, as you mentioned. The next time we're going to really looking at teams as far as benchmarks, probably 4th of July. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like 4th of July is another one for sure. And then, we get very close to the dog days, right? I mean, I usually hear the dog days of August, but I feel like it really starts in July. We've had some recent streaks here, some winning streaks, some losing streaks. It seems like every week a different team is streaking one way or the other. So lots of movement. We're going to get into it a little bit later and debate who we think the most vulnerable division leader currently is. A lot of things unsettled, man. A lot of things very, very close.
So if you want to support the show, you can follow us on IG and on X at TablesetterSpot on both those spots. Devin's posting some reels, having some good conversations, some polls, engaging everybody out there. And if you are listening to the show, please do engage with us. And also, if you could, leave a 5-star review. It goes a very long way. And if you want to further support our show, maybe financially, go to Dugout Mugs, use code TS10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. A lot of great stuff over there. Your favorite teams. I'm sure they have college teams, have a whole bunch over there. So make sure you guys get that for the barbecue. If you miss Memorial Day's barbecue, you'll get it in time for 4th of July.
Yeah, not only that, we mean Father's Day right around the bend now, and that's a great gift. A lot of great gifts on that website for Father's Day as well. So give it a look. I think you guys will find something that you like.
So we're going to jump right into the opening say, and Devin and I wanted to have a discussion on the NCAA Tourney discussion. I think it deserves the organ. All right, as Devin mentioned, on paper right now, this year's NCAA tournament bracket has come to fruition, and you could say it belongs to the SEC. 13 teams are in, and 6 of the top 8 national seeds wear SEC colors, and the regional hosts are scattered across the South like spring pollen, Devin. So we'll get into that, but we have some of these local tournaments coming to a close. The Fighting Camels, they fought hard to the very end. 2025 Coastal Athletic Association tournament didn't end the way Campbell fans had hoped. But for anyone who watched that battle against Charleston, man, May 23rd, it was a reminder of just how much heart this team has. Coach Marks was on the show. He believes in this team, and they were this close to pulling off one of the most dramatic comebacks in recent program history. So to paint the picture for you guys, the Camels trailed the Cougars 8-1 heading into the bottom of the 7th. And for most teams, that's the end, but not for Campbell. Joey Morton, Dalen Thompson, Lucas Scram powered a historic rally, and they launched 2 home runs, driving a combined 9 runs. The bats exploded for 10 runs over 3 innings, and suddenly the game was a dogfight. By the 8th, the go-ahead run stood on first. Charleston held on for the 12-1 victory, or 12-11 victory, I should say, which knocks the Camels out of the tournament. Ultimately, the tournament was won by Northeastern, but damn proud of those Camels, man. They came out and swung, and they could have laid down and died, and they didn't go down. They didn't go down without a fight.
Yeah, and for those of you who have listened, Steve and I kind of made a concerted effort a few months ago to get a little more into the college baseball world as we awaited the Major League Baseball season. And we followed a few teams here. I mean, Steve chose Campbell, and I got to say I kind of fell in love with them as well, especially after talking to Coach Marks. Delaware, my former college that I attended, we followed them, another CAA team. So we followed the CAA very closely. Wake Forest as well. So those were kind of our 3 teams we followed a little bit here, closer maybe than the rest. And the CAA is interesting. You said it. Campbell was the number 3 seed in that CAA tournament and made a little bit of a run. Like, it would have been cool to see them come out of there and get into the big dance here. But fell a little short. And that team, Charleston, that beat them 12-11, they fell short as well. Northeastern did just unbelievable season. For those that may not be paying attention to CAA baseball, Northeastern is a team to look out for once this big dance starts. Might surprise some people. They like a clean sweep of the CAA tournament. They've been on a hell of a run. So watch out for them. This is not a team that Steve and I have rooted for throughout the year, but the fact that our CAA teams are not in the tournament, I think we'll take a little bit of a liking to them and see if they can make some noise. Wake Forest in the tournament as well. So we do have some rooting interests there, but I don't know. When you look at this bracket, is there, first of all, I just got to say, as someone who is kind of, again, admittedly, this is really the first year trying to be more of a hardcore college baseball fan, as really people that have followed Major League Baseball closely for a long time. One of the things I love about this is the format. The format, again, similar in some ways to March Madness, but the double elimination kind of format just kind of adds a new wrinkle. And I got to say, I love it, and I'm looking forward to really having a close eye on it. But when you look at this bracket and the different spots, that the different hosts, is there anything that jumps out to you as far as, oh, I'm going to keep an extra eye out on those 4 teams over there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the teams that pop the headlines are not the ones you're going to think of. And as I mentioned before, SEC dominates the headlines. And if you look at, as I mentioned before, 13 teams from the SEC are in, and 6 of the top 8 national seeds are from the SEC. That is what catches my eye. You mentioned Northeastern, and started digging deep into the numbers here. They're a big problem that no one's going to want to face. They're riding right now, and this is not hyperbole, this is not exaggeration, a 27-game win streak right now. So they've won everywhere. They're sweeping on the road. They dominated across the mid-majors, and they're a CAA best team ERA, and they got great pitching, their depth, and like I said, winning on the road is what it's going to take here, and they're a team that nobody wants to face. I mean, you look at East Carolina as well. They're dangerous at any ballpark as well, 12-10 on the road, and 5-2 neutral site mark. And they are another team that's very dangerous. They got obviously a lot of grit, experience, and some intent on their end. UC Irvine is another team. They're road proven and mentally tough. Those are the 3 teams I'm looking at as, like, if you're going to have someone making some noise, that's not the big guys that you're looking at, the SEC teams that you're expecting. I'd imagine it's going to come from one of those 3 guys. Maybe Kansas State comes in there, battle tested away from home. But yeah, those are the guys. And that's what it is, man. These elimination games, and if you have teams that just kind of take their foot off the gas and you look at the situation, you could have one of these guys. We saw it happen in the preseason. We have 2 of the top preseason teams not in with Texas A&M, and like that was such a crazy story. And that's something we could not have predicted, especially upon just getting into college baseball from the jump.
Yeah, Texas A&M and Virginia, preseason 1 and 2, not in. Pretty crazy. You named it. I mean, that Tallahassee bracket, Florida State hosting, Northeastern in there, Mississippi State and Bethune-Cook. I mean, I also feel like this bracket, like the stars, the already stars will become bigger stars if they have big performances, and they might get a few guys that have been a little further down the radar that really burst onto the scene and have big moments and increase their draft stock. So that's what I'm looking for, but I'll definitely be watching the Florida State part of the bracket. But there's a few others. I mean, I think the one in Coastal Carolina being hosted there in Conway is a lot of fun, because you get a team like Florida, a big school, that has to be there at Coastal Carolina. Really cool setting for baseball, beautiful setting. So that'll be a fun one as well. And then, I mean, I mentioned it before, but like the personal side of it, I'll be watching Wake. I mean, they get a tough draw. They're in Knoxville. I mean, Tennessee. Here's the thing. If you watch college baseball all season, you'll know that teams were not able to stay in that one spot. It seems like every time someone got the #1 national ranking, they suddenly lost a game or 2 and were out of it very quickly. But at one point, Tennessee, I mean, I think when I was watching them, I just felt like they had the most talent in the country. Wake Forest, very talented offense, pitching not what it has been in previous years. So, and they've had some injuries as far as offense too that have affected their performance, kind of really back and forth. But Wake Forest, a big baseball program. You got Tennessee in there, Miami of Ohio, and Cincinnati, who surprised a lot of people early on and end up making the tournament. But it's fun, man. I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out of all of this.
So the road to Omaha begins this Friday, May 30th, and we're going to be on a sprint to June 23rd, where the College World Series will take hold. And all eyes are on college baseball. I know the MLB season's here. We do cover Major League Baseball in full, but it's something we have our eyes on. And there are a lot of players, especially with the pipeline being as quick as it is from college to MLB ready on these teams. I'd imagine some of the faces we're seeing throughout these College World Series we're going to be seeing in the MLB sooner than later. And that just shows a lot of excitement, especially for baseball fans. You want to see them in big moments, and who knows who's going to jump in the draft just because of what their performance is in the NCAA baseball tournament. We see it happen in basketball a lot, but there's a shorter gap here because obviously the draft is this summer, and it's going to be fresh in everybody's mind. If you have a big moment and you have a big series, and all of a sudden you are at the top of everybody's line, you can go from a guy who's on a day 2 to hop into the first round.
Yeah, I mean, a couple names we've had on the tips of our tongue for a while now, for a few months. Jamie Arnold at Florida State, most likely going to be taken pretty high in the draft, but let's see what he does in the big tournament with the big spotlight on him, especially being hosted in Tallahassee, that bracket there. Liam Doyle as well at Tennessee, another Knoxville, another host. So we'll be watching those guys. And you mentioned the pipeline. I mean, we're going to talk about Jack Caglione and what he's doing only like a week or so after getting to AAA. And he was just drafted last year. It was, this time last year, mashing at Florida, pitching and hitting. So Nick Kurtz, who just unfortunately went on the IL at Wake Forest this time last year, just drafted. Like, we could go on and on. Christian Moore as well now at the AAA level, playing at Tennessee this time of year last year. So it's quicker. And if you're a casual college fan and you're more of an MLB fan, kind of like we always have been, and you are thinking about, oh, maybe I shouldn't get more into college baseball, that's as much of a reason as any. Like, you're going to see some of these faces maybe at the MLB level this time next year. Like, that's just what's happening recently. So I think that makes it a little easier to get invested in the college baseball.
And what we do know is that some of these teams, they are battle tested in their own ways. Even the bigger seeds, they've had to play tough games all the way through. But those teams I mentioned that had to win on the road, and they're going to be the underdogs coming in, they're sort of playing with house money. And then the East Carolinas of the world, the Northeasterns, the UC Irvines, Kansas State, those teams are going to be nothing to lose heading into going into any of these big powerhouse games. And if they wind up causing some chaos and dropping somebody in the seating, we could have absolute madness on our hands and have one of these teams standing tall at the end. But that's the exciting part about all this. I mean, the smart money is on some of these SEC teams to go in there and walk away with the College World Series. But I think more so than ever, we're seeing a lot of these teams come away a lot of experience. The talent is more spread out than ever. And a lot of these programs are producing MLB ready players in just a year short time. So I'm really excited to see how it scopes out. And then for those teams, for those fans of teams that are not good right now, you have things to look forward to. The Colorado Rockies. I know it's really ugly over there in Denver. You guys snuck away one win in that Yankee series, which, man, I'll talk about that. That pissed me off. But you have something to look forward to. If you're the Rockies, clearly you're going to be picking high in the draft, Chicago White Sox, and you have these real players that are game changers. They're not going to be marinating in the minors for a long period of time. They're going to be on your roster and competing, and that's really fun. The Laviolettes of the world, like, that is a fun idea to think about because, like we see with the NBA draft, the NHL draft, you want game changers to come right from college, and I think we're getting that in baseball. We're closer than ever to having that pipeline being shortened. It's not even a pipeline; it's just a door you walk through.
Yeah. I wonder, you mentioned, Jace Laviolette, Texas A&M, not going to be in the tournament. I wonder what happens to his draft stock. I mean, he, along with Texas A&M being the preseason #1 team, I mean, Laviolette was the first guy out of everyone's mouth when they talked about high draft prospects. And now he's not going to be playing under this spotlight, which is another interesting wrinkle here. A couple other teams that just jump out: Dallas Baptist in the Baton Rouge bracket with LSU. That's an interesting one. Delaware is going to be in Conference USA starting next year. Dallas Baptist is a team that's kind of dominated that conference. They've had a lot of talent in that conference, so I'll be watching them closely just to get an idea of what my Delaware Blue Hens are going to be up against starting next year. And Binghamton, SUNY school, right? State of New York school, representing upstate New York there. So they get a tough draw. I mean, geez, it's in Georgia, Athens hosting, but also Duke, Oklahoma State. So they got some powerhouses there.
So let's move ahead to the meat of the order and talk about all the other things happening around Major League Baseball. All right, so to start the meat of the order, we can go different ways with this conversation, but what we want to do is put a lot of love on Tarik Skubal and his domination on May 25th with a Maddux-like gem, historic 13 strikeouts on just 94 pitches. This is known affectionately as the Greg Maddux, and it's the first time in MLB history that a pitcher achieved the Maddux with 13 or more strikeouts, which is something to take note of. And his final pitch was clocked at 102.6 miles per hour, which is the fastest strikeout pitch by a starter in the ninth inning since pitch tracking began in 2008. So we can go through all this. We have a conversation. Is Tarik Skubal the best pitcher in baseball? Is he the favorite to win the AL Cy Young again? But I want to just put the focus on the domination that was just a few days ago at this point. It was masterful to watch.
Yeah, man, this is what this segment is about. Just kind of, giving him his flowers. He's been incredible all year and last year as well. And it's just cool to see him doing this on a super competitive team now, because the Tigers clearly believe in themselves. I think last year's run just showed them what they're capable of. And they're starting to get a little healthier too, getting some pieces back that they've been missing for a bit. Complete game shutout, 2 hits, no walks, 13 strikeouts, 94 pitches, 72 strikes. I mean, you said it. His first complete game, the 8th complete game of the season in Major League Baseball. There have been 5 individual shutouts, so this doesn't happen all that often. Eric Fetty, Skubal now, Michael King, Nate Eovaldi, and Stephen Kolek in San Diego. So those are the 5 that have accomplished it so far. And a pretty cool thing here, Skubal's the first pitcher in Tigers franchise history to have 10-plus strikeouts in 4 straight home games. So he's lighting it up in Detroit in front of the home faithful there. Up next for him is Kansas City, so another divisional matchup here, and an important one because the AL Central is still tight, like almost up and down other than the White Sox. So these are all important. And the cool thing is, we love our sub-2 ERA crew. We'll update it later. One of the members of the sub-2 ERA crew, Chris Bubich, who's been unbelievable surprise, most likely will match up against Skubal late this week. So that could be a fun pitching matchup as we just get to the 1/3 mark of the season. But yeah, Tarik Skubal, 103 miles per hour to close out the game. I mean, that's like fantasy stuff there. I think I saw that the only other guy who has thrown a pitch that hard that late in the game, and we're not just talking about shutouts in this regard, just that late in the game, is Verlander, who did it like 7 or 8 times. He was always known for leaving a little, like having a little bit left that he could kind of get through at the end, but there's not many guys that can do that. So Skubal is just wowing people out there.
Yeah, he not only was dominant, but this was important because the Tigers were on a 3-game losing streak. So this is the stopper, that an ace that you want here. He's one of the lead pitchers in baseball, obviously. And looking at the season campaign, I know we're a third through, and we got just started on the show talking about Memorial Day being a benchmark, but this is start to mirroring like prime Pedro type of stuff. 2.49 ERA, the best K walk ratio in the American League. And although Detroit is a competitor this year and they are more on everybody's radar, I still feel like there's a lot of quiet corners that are talking about Tarik Skubal. Not enough people across national media are talking about this guy, and he's doing it on a consistent basis. I mean, why aren't we talking about Skubal the same way we talk about all the other aces in baseball in the national media? Is it because it's Detroit? Is it not a big enough market? I'm not sure why, because he deserves to be maybe the greatest pitcher in baseball right now and put in the pantheon of that. And us diehards talk about that, but I don't feel like he gets the love. Do you disagree with that? I don't know. I don't see his name out there discussed around circles. He won the Cy Young. Put some respect on Skubal's name.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I mean, like if you turn on MLB Network, they're surely talking about him just plenty, but that's like my source if I'm looking for baseball on TV, just going around the league. But yeah, if you're talking about like the ESPNs of the world and the kind of the mainstream national sports media, I absolutely agree with you. It takes them a little longer to get to a city like Detroit and cover some of their players. They have a lot of great stuff going on, one of the best teams in baseball. And I agree with you. Skubal needs more publicity. He's got a great personality. He's fiery. He's fun to watch. He's got electric stuff. He has the whole package, and the team is very good this year. So yeah, they're a little, I guess, slow to get there, but that's what people like us are here for. Give him all the love that he deserves.
So on the other side of it, we have a pitcher that is in his prime, and we have another pitcher on the other side of things that maybe is in the twilight of his career, and we don't want to put the eulogy on the headstone quite yet, but DeGrom, May 26th, the day after, Jacob DeGrom experienced a career first for him. He failed to record a single strikeout in a game, which ended a remarkable streak of 228 consecutive starts with at least one strikeout. So the Rangers went to falling 2-1 to the Toronto Blue Jays. DeGrom went 5 1/3, allowing 2 runs on 5 hits and 2 walks. But the story really has been that he didn't record a strikeout. And this is probably an anomaly because he's been effective since returning from his second Tommy John. And I would say it's more of the conversation of, again, he's done it so often that you have to have this conversation. It might just be a blip. But again, you could start the conversation, especially for podcasts. That's what we're on here for. Is it a signal of an inevitable decline or a crossroads where he has to change the way he pitches? Is it a sign that maybe he's moving towards the Greinke later in his career type of move?
I don't know. I think it just happened. I mean, I read the post game and kind of some of his quotes, and he said, like, listen, early on, they were being extremely aggressive. So that plays a part of it. The other team's approach, if they're trying to swing early in the count and he's trying to get strikes across early in the count, you might be making more contact and less strikeouts. And he said at first when they're being so aggressive, he assumed, all right, I might be able to pitch deep into this game. He ends up only going 5 1/3 and basically said he was fighting himself out there. Felt, you could tell his mechanics were a little off, flying open. But if you got to look at the whole game log to get the whole picture, he's been great. He's got a 2.42 ERA, 0.96 WHIP, and he's struck out plenty. He's had some high strikeout games. Jacob deGrom has looked just fine, and he has changed his game a little bit. I feel like he has even said like he doesn't feel like he has to throw every fastball 99. He's cool if he's sitting right around 97, and when he needs that 99, he'll go for that 99. But yeah, he's still, and they were careful with him too. They only 81 pitches. Bruce Bochy said afterwards, like, there's going to have to be times where they are a little careful with his workload, and that was one of those days. They wanted to get him out a little earlier, so I wouldn't read too much into it. It's an interesting headline. I mean, 12-year career, 229 starts. For this to be the first one, no strikeouts, it's notable. You have to make note of it. It's noteworthy. I just don't think it is. I just don't personally think it is a sign of a decline for Jacob deGrom. He's just been so damn good this year. I don't know. My bigger concern is for the Rangers as a whole. This was another 2-1 loss. Like, you can make note of the deGrom stuff, no strikeouts, but I think that leads into a bigger conversation and where there's more meat on the bone to actually be like, yeah, this is a problem. The Rangers offense continues to sputter and struggle. I mean, we've used this stat before and it hasn't changed. I think I said this stat weeks ago. They're 28th in the league in runs scored, and the only teams they're ahead of are the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Colorado Rockies. And obviously the Rockies barely ever win a game. The Pirates have now like gotten closer and closer to records for scoring less than 4 runs in an amazing amount of games. So you don't want to be in that company. They fired their hitting coach already, so they've moved on, brought Brett Boone in. Corey Seager's coming back tomorrow. I feel like that's big for them. But the Rangers, when you think about it, you got deGrom up there, sub-3. Nate Eovaldi, sub-2. He's been unbelievable. Tyler Mahle has been great. What a waste if the offense can't get this going.
Yeah, and I think with deGrom, you mentioned before, he's more craftsman than assassin, and we see this in later years of the pitchers at this point. Everyone has to go through it. Father Time is undefeated, but let's just not put note. Again, it's an anomaly, and it's a conversation because it didn't happen. He didn't have a strikeout. But you're right. He pitched well enough to get the win. And that's more of the conversation I want to have here. And if he's shifting the way he does things and looking at the post game, he seemed like he is. He doesn't have to have the highlight reels, doesn't have to have the strikeouts. He's going out there with the professionalism we've come to know here in New York, watching him on a day-to-day basis. This guy is the utmost class. He's a Hall of Fame pitcher who does his job, goes out there, and there might be a decline in the velocity because, again, this is similar to anyone that is getting older and he's coming off a severe injury that he's coming back. The fact that he's posted a 2.42 ERA over 10 starts and he's healthy right now, that should be more of the story than he doesn't have a single strikeout for this one start. Because the last time this happened was that I believe in 2020, if I'm looking at the right stats, where he exited after 2 innings due to a hamstring spasm back in September. So this doesn't happen. I mean, over his career, 30.9% strikeout rate. This is a guy who whiffs a lot of guys. But this may just be showing a little bit more of the grittiness. Silver lining of a deGrom fan or Ranger fan is looking at a guy who just wants to win. It doesn't matter how it gets done. He's not going to blow people away just to do it. He's going to do it more with control, the off-speed pitches. And I would say you could probably take a lot of positives out of this, except the fact that the Texas Rangers offense didn't get off up the mat.
Yeah, and there's more of the same tonight. I'm actually trying to look this up on the fly. Okay, so I just looked up the Rangers score as we've been talking. More of the same, 0-0 in the seventh right now against Toronto. And here's the scary part, and we're gonna have to look more into this as we record tonight. Nate Eovaldi started tonight, so I assumed when I saw the 0-0 score, all right, you're wasting another Eovaldi gem here. But he only went 2 innings, no runs, 2 hits, two strikeouts, 1 walk, 39 pitches, and apparently left the start with triceps fatigue. Um, the word as of now is he's not expected to miss additional time. So maybe it's something minor. They're just being very careful with, precautionary. I hope, because that's not a guy you can lose, especially when the offense is just not able to get it going. But the Texas Rangers 26-29. When you have 3 starting pitchers that may be all-stars as of now, that's super disappointing. And you look up and down that lineup. I mean, I know Jock Peterson, who obviously was awful the first month and a half of the season, he's out now with a hand fracture. So it hasn't gotten easier for them, but like that AL West is winnable. We're going to talk a little bit later about Seattle and how confident we feel with them at the top. And I mean, Texas, you're 26-29 and somehow still only 4.5 games out. They haven't been able to win on the road, 9-18. You got to hope, if you're a Texas fan, that Corey Seager gets back in that lineup tomorrow and starts pounding the ball and they feed off of it, because just nothing has gotten that ball rolling yet. I got to ask you this, just the last little part about pitching. Assuming everyone's healthy, let's say the Rangers do squeeze into the playoffs. How do you, if you're the manager there, how do you go about setting that rotation if everybody is ready on turn? You don't have to worry that someone didn't just pitch a day ago. You got DeGrom, you got Eovaldi, you got Molly. What are you going with 1, 2, 3?
I feel like just the big game experience, you got to go with DeGrom there. And I understand. And again, depends on where everybody's at come September. But if you're saying, or October, I should say, if you're saying everybody's healthy, DeGrom number 1, I'd have Eovaldi going 3 and then Molly at 2. This way you bridge the gap of a very strategic 2 veteran pitchers. We got 3 in there that are just veteran able to win. But if you're able to get those 3 guys out there, you should be able to win any series. And the offense has to do their job. And we continue to, and we had this conversation episode 15 on this show about last year, where we're just waiting for the weather to get warmer in Texas and then they're going to start hitting. Well, I mean, it hasn't really started yet, and it's pretty damn warm in Texas right now. And they went through the whole season, and they never woke up from that postseason dream of the dream of the World Series that the year prior, that hangover that existed, like some bad beer in a basement. And where are they now? That offense should be outperforming everything we're seeing on the field, and we're waiting for the wake up. Maybe it's the addition to Seager back into the lineup. I don't know, man. But if I'm a Ranger fan, I'm getting worried quick.
Yeah, because it's not just a couple month problem. Like you said, it goes back to last year, pretty much all of last year. So yeah, I would be concerned as well. Like I said, they are lucky to only be 4.5 games out. They can't really afford any more injuries. They got to get moving. If I'm a Texas fan, I am screaming at the TV, like, just come on, like, get a big hit. Let's get it moving. Hitting can be contagious. So that's why I play the Corey Seager card, because if anyone's going to get that offense going, it's Corey Seager.
Well, speaking of getting big hits, we had the Tampa Bay Rays at the time of us getting ready to record. They were the proud owners of the longest winning streak in baseball at 6. Unfortunately, Minnesota Twins had other plans in mind where they dropped them tonight 4-2. But let's still put some love on that 6-game winning streak. Their longest since June 2023. They won a 7-2 victory over the Twins on May 26, and this run has propelled them above 500 for the first time since early April. Now they sit at 27-27 after the loss to Minnesota today. But some of the key contributors during this streak: Jonathan Aranda hit a 3-run homer. Danny Jansen, who had a 2-run shot in the 8th. The pitching was really good. Zach Littell was 6+ innings of 1-run ball, which marks his 3rd win in May alone. And you look at the combination of the potent offense, their defense, their effective pitching. They've outscored opponents 37-10 during this streak, and they have not trailed in their last 44 innings. Again, this is not including what happened today. And this is significant because obviously they're playing at George M. Steinbrenner Field. Renovations at Tropicana Field, that was a whole story here. And they've managed to turn their season around right now. And they're finding a way to do what we know from the Rays. They find a way to win and get the most out of their players. And look up and down that lineup. They're getting contribution from every single guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the Rays team we expected to see. Um, Again, we're not counting tonight's loss. We had kind of researched a little bit before that game was final, but during the 6-game win streak, they only allowed 10 runs in those 6 games total. And they're just like, they've gotten a little healthier in the lineup. Josh Lowe is back in the fold. Brandon Lau has started to hit really well. He hit 450 in those 6 games, slugged 1,000 in those 6 games, 3 home runs. Chandler Simpson is getting on base at a high rate, and you know what he can do. He can cause havoc once he's on the base paths. So it's a fun team. You still got no Shane McClanahan, but the pitching has been doing well. You mentioned the Heat, man. I've seen some of those numbers, what they are at game time. Like, we're already talking like high 90s real feel, and it's May. I mean, that's going to become more and more of a story, I think. So that's something to keep an eye on. And is it going to be to their advantage where they can handle it because they're playing in it so much and it's going to hurt the other team more? Or is it going to just make them feel kind of depleted and then they go on a road trip and they just got nothing? I don't know. That's to be seen. It's their first time doing this, but I do think the lineup is starting to look a little better. I haven't heard any update on Shane McClanahan in a long time. It'd be nice to get something positive on him because that was, if you go back right before the season, that was a shame. I think it was just a few days before the season, and he was cruising in spring training, looking great. And then all of a sudden, he got taken away from Tampa. So I'm hoping that we get a positive update there because if you put a healthy Shane McClanahan into the fold, I mean, that team can make a run and get some more win streaks going. I got to ask you as a Yankee fan, I mean, Yankees are hot as hell. I think 14-4 in their last 18, hitting the crap out of the ball, just doing everything right now. Just doesn't seem like you just don't feel like they're going to lose. I know they lost the one game to the Rockies, but that aside, it just feels like they're going to go out there and win most nights. That's how it feels right now. Do you see the Rays as like you personally, do you see the Rays as the biggest threat to them? Or do you think it's someone else? Or do you just feel like there is not a threat in the East?
No, I think there's a threat on any given night. I think any of these teams can beat the Yankees. I think they've shown that. The Rays play the Yankees so tough in recent years. If I had to pick one threat, I still think it's the Boston Red Sox. I know they're sitting at 27 and 29, losers to 3 straight, etc. But I love Boston's lineup. You have them in the World Series this year. There's a reason why that we picked them there, and we're only a third through the season. The Red Sox are going to get hot, but the Rays are pesky, man. And I think the danger comes in once they sneak into the postseason. And that's a real life possibility that they could be one of these wild card teams. And they are going to be a headache for anyone to play against. Record be damned. They're a team that is a hard out. And sometimes they're too naive to know that they should be an easy out for somebody out in the playoffs. And for Tampa, this is a tale as old as time. And part of the storyline here with the Steinbrenner Field stuff, and I guess if you had to pick one stadium to play in out of all the minor league stadiums, you'd pick the Yankees one because it's equivalent to a major league ballpark. All the accommodations are there, the changes they made. But we're watching on the other side of the country right now. You have Sutter Park, which you're hearing a lot of the murmuring about the Athletics and how unhappy they are with the facilities and how the ball's playing there. So we easily could be having that conversation about Steinbrenner Field, and maybe we will about the heat, like you mentioned. Maybe once it gets unbearably hot come June, July, August, when that sun is beating down on them. But for right now, it's like it's almost a positive that they're playing at Steinbrenner Field. They're in Tampa. They're not in St. Petersburg. Fans are coming out there and they're showing out for the team. They're playing well. And I would say the facility is probably better than what they have at Tropicana Field. It's not the ideal situation. You don't want your stadium to be damaged by the awfulness that happened with the hurricane. But if you look at the two tails of who's playing in minor league parks, I mean, the Athletics got the short hand of the stick, and the Yankees did really nicely with the Rays battle accommodating them because Steinbrenner Field has been a benefit for the Rays right now.
Yeah, so far. Again, we'll see how that one plays out. I just want to go back to the Red Sox because you mentioned them. I got to say, for the first little while, I wasn't worried about them playing 500 ball. They just feel like the team that, like, as long as they, stay above water, they're going to get hot at some point. At some point in the season, I just see them as that kind of team. But the Bregman injury to me is a big one. Significant quad injury. We'll see how long. That's the kind of thing that it can be worse than you think. And I feel like that's an injury where you have setbacks and it's not always a straight path back. I just feel like he quickly became the leader of that team. It's crazy because like there's some big personalities and names on that team before he ever got there. And I feel like he's already kind of the leader there and he's playing great. You take him out, and then immediately he's injured. So now you're going to get the Devers story back because it lends itself to like, all right, well, we'll Devers fill in at third. So that's the story that won't go away. Marcelo Mayer up here now. So that's the one positive of it. I feel like everyone in Boston's been waiting on this kid forever. Roman Anthony, the last of the big three. Who knows when he comes up? He's supposed to be the best of them. But we'll see, man. They got to keep their head above water. That Yankees lead is increasing quickly. And Bregman out, that scares me a little bit. If I'm a Boston fan, I worry about keeping my head above water with no Bregman.
Yeah, Bregman's injury, and from all the reports, it seems like it's going to be a little bit here. The quad strains are hard to heal. It's going to be a lengthy stay in the IL. And you mentioned Marcelo Mayer coming up. It's like with Bregman, he's as bit as advertised. Like, I understand that he caused controversy, not intentionally, but his signing caused all this controversy with Devers. But this dude has been a lightning rod on the offensive side of the ball for them. And he's a trap and defense wise. So like Bregman is a big game player, and he's worth every penny the Boston has paid them thus far. But it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out, because eventually you mentioned the big three, Campbell, Anthony, Meyer, they're all going to be coming up, and we're playing together. That's the future of the Red Sox here. So I wonder where Marcelo winds up playing after the fact. If he does play himself into a spot, do you send him down and follow the Baltimore Orioles way of doing things, or does he find his way into the line? There's other guys here. We had the same conversation about Rafaela. He's right now holding it down in the outfield for them, but Roman Anthony wants to. It is a good problem to have, and as we know, the Dodgers talk about this all the time, where you have so much talent, eventually they find room for each other. But should be interesting how this works out in Boston.
Yeah, when I at least in the social media atmosphere, which is not always the most reliable, but when you look up some of the Red Sox stuff, there's a lot of people that seem ready to kick Trevor Story to the curb, to be honest. But in my mind, I would say let's see what Mayer does here first, and see if he looks like the guy that we've been talking about for a long time. You got to remember, it did take him a while to get here in an era of baseball where people seem to fast track their high prospects. So, who's to say that he's going to come out here and be great? He may look like, oh, he's not ready. And then you don't want to kick anyone to the curb too early, especially someone with experience. But for now, I mean, I got to say, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I feel like I was wrong about them. I was not high on the Yankees coming into this season, and they have just looked great. And it's not just the play; they just look confident. Like they look every night when I turn them on. There's something about them that just feels like they expect to win every single night, no matter what the score is at the time.
Totally feel that way as well, and there is some confidence that comes from the defensive side of the ball, which they prioritize fixing, because that was something that embarrassed them on a really big stage. And we talked about plan A. We certainly talked about plan B enough when we had the Soto conversation. Is this team better than they would be with Soto? And that is the fallacy, the predetermined outcome that they wouldn't make any other move if they were to retain Soto. And I think you include Soto in this offensive lineup, they are a better team. But if you go with sort of following the tea leaves and understanding how Cashman and how the front office does things, they were not going to spend the money on Fried. They certainly were not going to go out there and spend money elsewhere. They were going to be probably doing what they've always done, fixing that pitching staff with duct tape, and they'd be dead to rights without Cole. And then if Fried's not there, who's picking up the slack? This team is a completely different team without Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger, and Max Fried. And they're playing with a different veteran poise that, like you said, they expect to win on any given night. We're a third into the season, but I'm very confident the Yankees will have their say come October. But can these guys stay healthy during the final stretch of the season? They have a lot of, Goldschmidt's an older player. He has a lot of length on his career. They're expecting a lot out of these guys. And if Fried stays healthy, they can hang in any single series that they're in. But it's a matter of a lot of pressure on that arm right now, because Cole's not coming back. Unless they get another arm at the trade deadline, all their postseason aspirations getting back to the World Series rely on that big arm of Max Fried.
Yeah, well, maybe Luis Heel will be ready right around the trade deadline, so Boone and Cashman can use their patented line of like it's like acquiring a pitcher. We talk about that a lot. So, Yankee fans, you don't forget Luis Heel may be waiting in the wings, but yeah, all good things. You got to feel great in Yankee land.
Well, speaking of Max Fried, let's head to the sub-2 ERA and talk about all the other guys around that are still hanging in there. All right, Devin, we are hanging out with the sub-2 ERA crew right now, and a lot of conversation about some guys who dropped off and who's joined the list.
All right, so we're at 6 dudes here. 6 seems to be like the magic number right now. I feel like we've been at that number 6 for a while, but it's not always the same 6. We had one guy drop out, one guy come back after taking a week off. Max Fried still sits at the top, 1.29. Chris Bubich, second best now. Unbelievable. We mentioned him earlier. Going to match up against Tarik Skubal, we think, later this week in a division matchup. That'll be fun. He's at 1.45. His ERA actually went further down, so just seems to be getting better. Kodai Senga, my boy, 1.46, best in the National League. And his ERA is actually up a little bit this week. Still pristine. Nate Eovaldi, I got to check it because I know he threw 2 innings tonight before exiting. Before tonight, he was at 1.60. But we'll take a look to see where that ERA stands now. His teammate Tyler Mahle, 1.8. That ERA is actually up a little bit, inflated a little bit, if I can use that word for a sub-2 ERA. And then finally, the return of Yoshinobu Yamamoto to the sub-2 ERA crew. At one point, he was under 1 and then had a couple not-so-great starts. He's at 1.97, so he's back. And then Hunter Brown, the only guy that fell off this week, but he stands at 2.04, so don't be shocked if we come back to you next week and he's back.
So Nate Eovaldi sits at 1.56 on this Tuesday evening here. So he did, as you mentioned, went 2 strong, 2 hits, and 1 walk for 2 Ks, and he exited the game for the Rangers here. And the Rangers in top 8 tied 0-0. That offense is still doing their anemic type of performance as we come to know with the Texas Rangers. But as you mentioned, man, there's a lot of good conversation of pitching. Pitching's back, man. And I am of the belief, I understand chicks dig the long ball, 1998 saved baseball, but pitching is where it's at. This is sort of when you start to love baseball, the offense grabs you, the home runs grab you, but what really keeps you there is pitching gems and watching these guys go out there and reinvent themselves and find ways to get the best hitters in the world out. And watching what these guys are doing out there, Max Frieds, the Bubich, the Sangas of the world, and even guys that are still a little bit above 2. And what DeGrom's doing this year, and Tarik Skubal, Paul Skeens, there's a lot of great names out there. We're in a renaissance of pitcher right now.
Yeah, man, and I'm with you. I love this stuff. I mean, if you ask me what my favorite non-Mets game of the season has been so far to watch, it was probably that DeGrom Hunter Brown matchup, just that traditional pitchers duel that we do not get enough of, where it feels like each guy is trying to outdo the other. Like they're not actually facing each other, but they know they're against each other in that type of game, and one's trying to outdo the other, one's trying to outlast the other. They don't want to leave the game until the other one leaves the game. That's fun. We don't see it. We see some great pitching performances, but it seems even more rare to get that pitching duel when neither guy blinks. And that was my favorite one of the year if I'm thinking about it right now.
So we do have a Twitter poll and conversation for us here. So we're not going to hit the organs, but we'll just have a discussion. You posed the question to our loyal followers at Tablesetters Pod on the X Machine and asked, who would you rather roster in fantasy baseball going forward? You gave them 4 choices, and who emerged victorious?
So this is interesting to me because I'm looking at it as like, what would the results be if we put this out there in March when people were doing their drafts compared to now? And I got to say, I think it is very different. Pete Crow Armstrong, Corbin Carroll, James Wood, Ellie De La Cruz were your choices. Now, the results I found fascinating. Corbin Carroll does win the vote narrowly with 38% of the vote. Pete Crow Armstrong is the next, 34%. I mean, this just shows you what he has done. He has burst onto the scene. I know, like, in our league last time I looked at, like, the point total leaders, head-to-head points league, unique scoring, I believe he may only be behind Judge, maybe Judge and Ohtani, but I'd have to look again. He's unreal where he is. James Wood got 17%, Ellie De La Cruz 11%. Now, my question to you, Pete Crow Armstrong almost winning that vote over those other 3 guys. Do you think this is complete recency bias, or are you in agreement with those results? Do you think he should be almost winning that vote?
You can make the argument for recency bias because, again, the theme of this show is that we're a third of the way through the season. But I think what makes Pete Crow Armstrong as attractive as he is, not only is he electric to watch on the field, if you have a player you want to build around in fantasy baseball, you want to be able to tune into a player that's going to kind of do it all. And he fills all categories and he crosses over different platforms of how you play fantasy baseball. You and I play the head-to-head points league. He's certainly valuable there. But even when you put him into a roto league, this guy's just fills up the box score and does everything right. And being that he has this electric personality, it's that much more fun to roster someone like that. So it does not shock me. And when we see these players turn the corner, it starts to feed into itself. And I think we're closer to Pete Crow Armstrong being more of the superstar than not at this point. We're seeing too much of it to believe that he's going to go back to being just an above replacement player that we thought he would have been when he kind of got hot, went through his streaks last year. He is truly the real deal right now.
I mean, he is. You can't deny it. I just, when I look at it, I know he's done it now for about 50 games, right? So it's not like it's a super small sample size. But you got to remember, he was a high prospect mostly because of his speed and mostly because of his unbelievable fielding, like, 99th percentile type of fielder. So I just feel like I need to see it longer. Corbin Carroll, James Wood, Ellie, they've been doing it a little longer, especially Corbin Carroll and then Ellie. James Wood, not that much longer than PCA. But the reason this is a fascinating choice is because all four of these guys are in that category of guys that can do a little bit of everything. They have power, they have speed, they can cause chaos, they can do everything. In my mind, the right order is I'm taking Corbin Carroll first. I think I'm taking James Wood second. I think I'm taking Ellie De La Cruz third. And just because in my mind, I need to see what his numbers are at the end of this year. Because I'm not trying to be a hater, but I could see them falling pretty far from what the expectations are right now. PCA comes fourth. And listen, I would gladly take him on my team. But out of that group, I have him at the bottom. I trust the other guys more. I mean, I know Ellie strikes out a ton and can go in some bad little streaks, but he also can have a week where he wins it for you in fantasy. I mean, he's having a big night tonight, 2 home runs. He can just steal a bunch of bases. Corbin Carroll's the guy I rely on the most. I feel like consistency, he's showed that this year, but it's an interesting choice. I'm surprised PCA gets second, but that's the order I would go with.
Yeah, I guess there's no denying it when you put it that way, that it is their recency always plays a part. And is what have you done for me lately world that we live in for baseball, especially in this sport. People want to see it because as good as you are the day before, you could strike out 4 times and people look at you like you're the worst player of all time, especially if you roster them in fantasy. But 4 great names here. Wood is impressive. Any of these teams, real life fantasy, doesn't matter. Building your team around these guys, they are lightning rods. James Wood, like we're seeing exciting pieces, not just from James Wood, but all those young players in DC right now. Ellie De La Cruz, I don't think we've seen the ceiling of this guy, and that's scary for baseball. I think once we continue to see him grow, he could be the best player in baseball, and that's including the Shoheis and Judge. That's how good his ceiling is. I don't think we're fully realizing what he can do on this field. I think we've only seen blips of it, and that is truly scary.
People forget how, for whatever reason, all 4 of those guys are very young, but I think for whatever reason, people forget just how young Ellie De La Cruz is and how quickly he burst onto the scene. And there's still lots of holes in his game, but he also just seems like the kind of guy who is a hard worker and is going to close some of those holes. Maybe not completely, but if he just gets percentiles better little by little, he's a hell of a player.
There was a time where people would look at Judge's swing and saying there's holes in his swing as well. You know what I mean? It wasn't that 100%. Long ago.
You're right. You're right.
Yep. It wasn't that long ago. So let's get to take a pitch or swing. Do we have a bumper for this one? I don't remember if we do. I have a couple here in front of me.
We've been using the bench warmers one, I think.
All right. Let's throw to it over here with our handy dandy producer.
Don't swing if it's not in the strike zone.
Where's the strike zone?
Strike 2. Right there.
Sit down, Spaz.
That kid's throwing heat.
Heat, Schmeat.
1 out. Gonna be 2 outs.
Hey, I bet you're a real good catcher of donuts in your mouth.
So take a pitch or swing away, one of our favorite segments here. And we have 2 questions to throw each other's way. We're going to start with the number 1. Devin mentioned on the opening, The Mariners are the most vulnerable current division leader. Devin, are you swinging away or are you taking the pitch?
I'm going to swing away here. The only thing that made me second guess was the National League East with the Phillies, a 1.5 lead on the Mets, and obviously Atlanta, still haven't been able to get out of their own way, even with Strider and Acuna back. They're still, they fell to 3 games under 500 tonight. They've lost in some pretty bad ways. I still think they're going to get it together. But the word vulnerable is what gets me. Even though I think the NL East, we might see some changes there. When you use the word vulnerable, I see Seattle as a lot more of a vulnerable team than I do the Phillies, even though the Phillies lead is very small at 1.5, just like Seattle's. Seattle, man, I don't know. I feel like this is another year where they've had the opportunity to kind of go run and hide a little bit and build a bigger lead while these other teams kind of scuffle, and they just haven't been able to do it. I mean, the Angels, with their most recent winning streak, have gotten within 4.5 games. The A's, who just went on a really bad losing streak, are only 7 games back. If you lose as many in a row as they did, like, you should be more than 7 games back of first place. And Houston, we know the monster that Houston, just lurking, somehow only 1.5 back. When you think about Houston, think about this. They have gotten pretty much nothing from Yordan Alvarez this year. Pretty much nothing. When he was healthy, he wasn't playing very well. And now he's been out for a while. He should be nearing a return, but it's been very almost secretive over there. Like, we don't really understand when he's coming back. So, yeah, Seattle, the offense has been better. You just hope they don't go into some kind of swoon. They're getting some pitching back, right? Logan Gilbert and Bryce Miller, we got word today that they should be on the road back. George Kirby returned last week, didn't pitch well his first time out, but I think good things for Seattle. My question is, listen, this offense is largely the same clientele or the same roster as last year, and their offense was really bad last year. I know it's been pretty good this year, but I just wonder, is there a point where they kind of go back to their old ways? So I'm swinging away. I do think they're the most vulnerable division leader as of now.
Yeah, I'm swinging away as well. And for a lot of the same reasons you mentioned before, looking at the run differential, they're just plus 19, which is the slimmest among all the division leaders. Look at some of the division leaders, heavy hitters. Just for example, the Yankees are plus 111, just to give you kind of context on some of these prolific offenses. And looking at some of the numbers here, digging into the offense, and it's always been the case. You mentioned the same cast of characters that have struggled. We watch them choke away a lead year after year. Julio Rodriguez is an electric player. We expect them to be able to be a guy that they can rely on when the going gets tough. But looking at the way this team is constructed, there's a notice that they have to win on the road. And right now they're averaging fewer than 3.5 runs per game from T-Mobile Park. And their offense obviously shrinks across different boards. And the margin of error right now is razor thin. And you mentioned before, the Astros are gaining ground and they're built for the long haul. We know that they have some new faces there. It's not the same old Astros from 2017, but we've seen it for the better part of a decade. We have to buy into it. You try to bury them last year. The Houston Astros not going anywhere. I'm thinking Hunter Brown, you mentioned before, he just fell out of the under 2 thing, but he has fully found his form. He is fully an ace. And as much as we want to appreciate the pitching from Seattle, and you have to give them love, the Kirby coming back is a huge thing. Brian Wu has blossomed into a full-blown ace. Gilbert will eventually come back. As long as you can go toe-to-toe and have a stopper like Hunter Brown, right now the Mariners are technically in first place, but it feels like they're just going to hold on to it. And I guess we have to see it to believe it. It's been so long since playoff baseball has taken hold in the Pacific Northwest over there. It just looks like a team that's ready to let this go. And we've seen this version of Seattle at this point. They're just good enough to stay close, but they're flawed enough to fall short. And that's been the story. And I guess I'm buying it. The Mariners are the most vulnerable division leader. If you put it nuts and bolts in front of you, look at all the division leaders. The Mariners are the most vulnerable. And I think we could be having this conversation a few weeks from now where the Houston Astros have overtaken the AL West.
Yeah, or Texas, if they can ever get any offense with those 3 horses in the rotation leading the way. Who knows? I think it's still very much open, but it'll be entertaining. It might be one of those. I don't know. The AL West right now just strikes me as that division where it's like, no, you have it. You have, like, no one wants to just grab it and take it. If Seattle had this chance last year when they were playing well, it looked like they could run and hide, and then they blew a big lead, and all of a sudden Houston was back in it, and they let people back in. So who knows how that's going to go. I do think vulnerable is the right word for Seattle, though.
So looking at number 2 here, our questions, the Rockies will have less than 20 wins by the end of June. And I am absolutely swinging away at this. The Rockies right now, if you look at the pace of how they're compiling wins, they're very unlikely to reach 20 wins by the end of June. And holding a record of 9-45 is just absolutely just insanely bad. It marks the worst 54 game start in modern MLB history. The current trajectory suggests that not just on pace for a historically poor season, they're going to surpass last year's Chicago White Sox with ease at this point. If they follow this, their run differential, as of me putting these notes together, I can get to you the exact run differential right now for the Colorado Rockies, is baffling. -173, the second worst in modern era. And looking at their challenging schedule through June, I looked at their series: the Chicago Cubs, the New York Mets, the Miami Marlins, San Francisco Giants, the Atlanta Braves, and the Nats. And it's plausible that they're going to struggle to secure more than 10 wins by the middle of July. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're looking at. We could be looking at them at 19 wins come 4th of July. And that will be probably lucky, So looking at the performance metrics, the upcoming schedule, it's reasonable to anticipate they're going to be fewer than 20 wins. Because at this point, we're a third of the way through the season. And what? It's like the Pee Wee Herman, where we said it again, 1/3 of the way through the season. They have 9 wins right now, and we're approaching June 1st. It is absolutely insane that we're looking at this. Makes me even more angry that the Yankees dropped the game in this series. I understand it's baseball, Susan. These things happen, but it's unacceptable. And that other game almost got out of control. They were almost, of course they blasted them in game 2, but game 3 almost got away from them. And it got ugly for the Rockies at the end. So the final score looks the way it should. But to lose that first game against the Rockies in those City Connect uniforms in Denver, come on, dudes, come on.
I mean, the Yanks lost to the White Sox in their record-breaking bad season last year too, in a pretty bad game, and Yanks ended up in the World Series. So maybe it's a good omen. I don't know. It's just something they do year to year. But I mean, listen, the Rockies are playing the Cubs right now, 2-2, going to the bottom of the 10th in Chicago. So the Cubs have their ghost runner on second. Let's assume the Cubs win that one, because I mean that's what the percentiles would say right now. That would give them 9 wins still, 3 games left in May, and then 26 games in June. So we're talking 29 games to get 11 more wins to get to 20 wins, right? So essentially what I say, 29. So they have to go 11-18 to get that. That doesn't sound that crazy, and I know they're 9 and whatever, like they're way worse than that percentile wise, but like we're not asking that much. But I'm with you. I'm going to swing away. There's just no reason to believe, especially with the schedule you laid out of a lot of really good opponents, that they're suddenly going to change their win percentile here that dramatically, even if it doesn't sound like we're asking too much. Like 11-18, can you do that? I don't think they can. So yeah, I mean, what was the statement again? Am I swinging away here? The Rockies will have less than 20 wins by the end of June. Yeah, I'm swinging away. I think they will have less.
I don't know if we've ever seen a single-digit win approaching June, and we could have that. I mean, if they go on this streak and they don't get another win, they could have single-digit wins going June 1st. It is beyond.
Yeah, it's very possible.
This is something that is unforeseen, and I don't know if this is a sign of the times. Like, we went decades without seeing historic losses. We're going to go back-to-back year with 2024 Chicago White Sox putting paper bags on their head in the stadium, and now the Rockies going to jump them the year after. Is that a sign that it is a problem in baseball, or is this just two historical bad teams that happen to group together year after year?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a sign of the times. I think this is, and it's I mean, it's really bad. I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like less teams have gone the tanking route than maybe a few years ago, but the really bad teams are even worse than they were a few years ago. That's what I would say. Update. Pete Crow Armstrong had first and second for the Cubs against the Rockies in the bottom of the 10th, 2 outs, and did he strike out or did he ground out? I think he grounded out. So maybe the Rockies do get their 10th win tonight. They're going to the top of the 11th, and maybe that changes our answer. I don't think it's going to, but who knows? Maybe it does.
Yeah, and their best player, Hunter Goodman, leads off the inning over here, so he might be some trade bait at the deadline. He's some guy who's got cooking a little bit. He might be a nice piece on a postseason roster.
Hunter Goodman, best player.
But looking at this roster, I don't want to spend too much time on I feel like every week we talk about Colorado this way, and like I guess it's skewed so far into the other direction that it's actually conversation worthy. Looking at this team, there is talent. Like for them to only have 9 wins, we've seen worse teams. I mean, I feel like those Nats teams in the beginning of their franchise in 2005, that feels like a worse team. I don't know, man. I mean, the pitching is putrid.
Pitching is atrocious.
It is putrid. But offensive wise, like Ryan McMahon is a major league player who is studly.
Right.
Like you have really good players on this roster that, I mean, what do you feel like showing up to the ballpark every day when you have 9 wins? Unreal.
Yeah, it's not pretty. And I believe it or not, I'm actually going to talk about the Rockies in another segment. We don't even have that much show left, but I'm somehow going to squeeze them into another segment today.
All right, well, let's get to a minor issue. We're going to bring this back for the first time in a little bit. We have to, because this guy is mashing in AAA. All right, Devin, lead the way here. We have a big name we've been talking about for quite some time in the Kansas City Royals system, and the Omaha Storm Chasers are the proud owner of this player in AAA.
Yeah, it's Jack Caglione. I mean, he's the talk of the town. Everyone loves talking about this guy. I mean, he's a monster. He looks the part. He just looks like a stud athlete, let's be honest. Handsome man out there, and he can hit the crap out of the ball. Our friends at Baseball Unstitched, I know I've been tweeting about him a lot lately. We've been going back and forth a little bit about which one of these minor league studs we think is going to make the biggest impact. But they're all different ages, so it's kind of hard to tell. We've talked about Connor Griffin. We've talked about Jack. We've talked about J.J. Weatherholt. But Caglione recently, 5 home runs in his first 6 AAA games. Like, he just got there. And it's not just like barely scraping the wall, going over kind of home runs. I mean, he's at a 441 foot, 459 feet. Every single home run he has hit in AAA so far has been 107 miles per hour or more. Like, that's just kind of natural for him. He's interesting, man. I mean, the Royals have only 33 home runs on the year. That's the fewest in the league, by the way. I think some of us could have guessed that. They score they score 3.3 runs per game, which is the 3rd worst. So if you're a Royals fan and you see this beast in AAA that just seems to be succeeding at every level, it's hard not to be yelling at the TV screen, like, get this guy here, give Bobby Witt some help. I mean, I was dead wrong about the Royals offense preseason. I actually thought I was bullish on it. I thought they were going to be better than most people thought. Obviously, you got Bobby Witt. I really like Pasquantino, right? Salvi, I know, hasn't necessarily been himself this year. I thought they had some chance to be a better offense, but they've really struggled in the offensive category so far. And you see a guy like Caglione. I mean, listen, JJ Piccolo, their GM, has heard all the noise. This was his quote very recently. He says, "It's not fair to any player, whether it's Jack Caglione or whoever, when a team is maybe scuffling offensively, to try to put it on him and hope he's going to come save the day. The best way to break any player into the major leagues is to try to bring them up when the team is hot offensively, scoring some runs." I agree mostly with that, but what if that hot streak for the Royals offense just never comes, and you let this kid with this unbelievable power and the potential to help you sit down there the whole time because you're waiting for that hot streak so it takes some pressure off him in his debut, and it just never happens? I don't know. So we'll see. To me, I just think it's a trend. This kid's going to be up. I'll say in 3, I'll go 4 weeks. I'll be a little more conservative. So we're on what, May 27th today? Give me about 4 weeks from now. Let's say June 24th. I think Jack, I mean, as long as he continues performing, I think he's up.
Well, so he enters this year MLB's pipeline's number 10 overall prospect. And you mentioned the offensive challenges for the Royals. We've discussed it at large. They are a team similar to what we saw with Detroit, ready to take the next step. And we saw the designation for assignment for Hunter Renfroe. So there's a clear path to the majors for him.
Exactly.
And I just think that there's offensive prowess for this guy. You mentioned the prolific power. This is just what the doctor ordered for a team so badly it needs it. And I don't care how much pressure that it puts on this guy. Pressure creates diamonds, as cliche as that is. Put him in the spot. He's done nothing but hit every single level of baseball all the way through. Give him an opportunity. You don't want to give him too much of a leash here, put him out there. If he imagine you did this with Bobby Wood Jr. and say, you know what, he's struggling, don't have him out there. He could be the 1B to Bobby Wood Jr. Put him out there offensively. What could go wrong? It's not going to, like you said, 33 home runs overall across the team for the season. Even if Caglione struggles a little bit, he's got to be an upgrade from what they're doing over there. I imagine too. I would give it the hard stop, 4th of July. He has to be up with the Kansas City Royals. Has to be.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about Hunter Renfroe being DFA'd, it is an interesting part of the conversation. Jack Caglione is a first baseman by trade. I mean, he pitched at the college level too. They did draft him as like a two-way player, but I don't think he's ever pitching in the bigs. But he's a first baseman by trade. I assumed maybe they'd try to use a DH spot to get him up there because you got Vinny at first. But he's been playing some outfield. He's been playing some first, but he's also been playing some left and right field. They have some guys working with him on kind of adjusting to the outfield. And there's some history here with the Royals. Some of the same guys that are working with Caglione right now to adjust to the outfield are some of the same guys that worked with Alex Gordon years ago. He was a third baseman by trade and became a Gold Glove outfielder for the Royals, 8 Gold Gloves, and obviously went on to win a World Series with them and was a big leader of that team. Now, Caglione is not the same profile, much bigger dude. But you know what? If Yordan Alvarez, and I know he hasn't really been doing it this year, but if Yordan Alvarez can play corner outfield positions for years, Jack Caglione, I think, can as well. Maybe that's not going to be his permanent spot, but for the first couple of years, if that gets him in your lineup, I think it's okay, unless he is just horrible out there. As long as he is serviceable, I think you do what you got to do, especially when, you know, defense and pitching, that's not necessarily your big problem right now. Your big, very clear problem that is holding you back a bit is a relatively putrid offense. So you have this monster there, you know, get him up soon. It doesn't have to be this week. He just got to AAA. I do think they also said, like, we want to see how AAA pitching adjusts to him. Like, he came up here, he's mashing. You know, when you get to the big leagues, they're going to make an adjustment. And if they realize you can't hit a sweeper that's coming in on you, or, you know, a fastball on the outside corner, or whatever it is, they're going to throw you that pitch over and over until you hit it. Or if you can't lay off a breaking ball that finishes 2 to 3 to 4 inches outside off the plate and you never lay off it, they're going to throw you that every time. So that part I agree with. Give him some more weeks and see if there's any adjustments made and see if he's able to deal with those adjustments.
Yeah, it's important to watch and get the main theory I have is you got to give him a chance to succeed up here. And he's shown no other reason but to believe in the kid. And Caglione is definitely the answer to their prayers if they allow him to be up there. The only way he can help you offensively is you put him in that beautiful blue uniform that the Royals bring on a daily basis of Kauffman. But let's move into our red hot ice cold segment here. And just for an update, the Colorado Rockies took the lead over here in the 11th. So the Cubs are down 3-2 heading, but we know they got that ghost man over there. So we know how things can go wrong pretty quickly. But let's head to our final segment of tonight.
Oh, hot.
Oh, that's cold.
All right, so red hot, ice cold. We can go many different directions of this. We can pick a player, we can pick a team, we can pick both. Devin, I'll let you start. Who is red hot on your radar?
All right, so this is not including tonight. We can maybe update that on the fly, but my red hot hitter is O'Neal Cruz. Since May 19th, when we recorded our last episode, he has hit .320, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 1.292 OPS, which is 5th best in that time. But the reason he caught my eye is he broke the exit velocity record this week with a home run hit 122.9 miles per hour. That's right, almost got to the 123 mark. And now for this, so that's all time. He broke the all-time record since, the StatCast era. But he also now owns 6 of this year's top 10 hardest hit balls. His name is just all over that list. It's incredible. This guy just smokes the ball. So he's my red hot. Yes, there's some guys that had higher averages in that time span and higher this, higher that. But he hit really well, and he broke the EV record, so I had to put him on there. My pitcher on the red hot side is Will Warren. He's kind of burst on the scene over the last month, kind of sneaking up there because he looked really bad for a bit. It wasn't just 1 or 2 bad starts. He looked like, all right, he's just still not ready for the bigs. He's more of a AAA guy. He has turned it on, And we thought if he was going to be good, it was going to be because he could strike out a lot of guys. And that is what he has started to do. He is only second to Tarik Skubal in K per 9 over the last month. He has a K per 9 of 13.8. He's not giving up the long ball very often in the last month or so. 0.60 home runs per 9, 3.60 ERA. For a guy that they just need to be good in the back of the rotation, I'll take 3.6 all day. 27.5% K to walk percentage, which is third best in that span. So much needed for the Yanks there at the back end of the rotation. And I think some people were starting to doubt whether Will Warren could really do much for them this year. But when you see numbers like that, you start to believe again.
So for me, I only have one red hot, and there's no one more dialed in baseball right now than Jose Ramirez. And I included tonight's numbers. Since May 6th, he has posted a 20-game hitting streak, which is by far the longest of his career. His slash line's insane: 387, 446, 667, 7 doubles, a triple, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, and he has quality at bats all across the board. 29 hits. You had another one today, so 30 hits, only striking out 7 times across that spot. And we mentioned the hard hit rate numbers to keep an eye on, nearly up 10 points. His exit velocity is up as well. He's got sharper timing, a lot of contact across the board, and he's moving up Cleveland's all-time leaderboards. And it's hard to believe Jose Ramirez has the ability to do that already, because it feels like he just got here, but he's been playing for a long time. He recently passed Joe Sewell in doubles and Jim Thome in runs scored, which is significant.
Wow, Jim Thome.
For the Cleveland franchise over here. And Stephen Kwan put a quote out here, and he said, quote, "It's almost weirder when he's not doing what he's doing now."
Yeah.
And he's the Guardians' heartbeat, man. We know he's one of the most dangerous bats in the American League with MLB at large. And I understand, like we just said with Tarik Skubal, no one talks about him a lot. I don't think a lot of people talk about Jose Ramirez enough either. This guy is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. He's one of the best players we've ever seen. And he's going out there, and the consistency is what it is, man. He goes out there and does it every single year, except for there was that one year that he had that low, but every single year, this guy is producing MVP level numbers.
Yeah, Mr. Consistent, 100%. That was the word I was going to use. Just so consistent. And he does it, you don't get him in these segments as much because you just look at the numbers and like, yeah, well, that's what we expect him to do. But you're right. He deserves more publicity as well. On the ice cold segment, you want to lead off the ice cold?
Yeah, so for the ice cold, and it's kind of consistent with what we were discussing before, because the bullpen gave up the lead or the tie game. It's Ryan Pressly and the Cubs bullpen, and their offense. We mentioned PCA, we mentioned Kyle Tucker firing on all cylinders, but their bullpen, especially closer Ryan Pressly, has been a weak spot for the Chicago Cubs. And if they're going to be any bit of competitive in October, they need to figure this out. It is a fragile link for this team. And the thing is, Pressly was acquired to bring in some stability in the 9th inning. And you looked at the most infamous outings in Wrigley Field history. That field's been around a long time. There was a 7-run collapse without recording an out in an extra inning loss to the Giants recently, which is the highest scoring extra frame ever recorded at the ballpark. Again, think about how long Wrigley Field's been around. Obviously began to recover a little bit. He put together 6 scoreless innings over his last 7 appearances. But this is the type of damage that's on your psyche for a bit. His ERA right now is inflated to 5.2. The Cubs bullpen at large has recorded 8 blown saves this season. Their bullpen ERA in May alone ballooned to just north of 6. And this is a deep problem for the Cubs at this point. Unless we get Pressly regaining full command about what we saw in Houston on his end, or they have an answer somewhere else coming in, whether it's an acquisition or maybe an arm in the minors we have no idea about yet. This bullpen is going to be a problem if they want to be competitive and eventually maybe win a World Series.
Yeah, and we know they're really bad last year, so I expect them to be. I mean, you would hope they're going to be aggressive to try to get bullpen help at the deadline. My ice cold. I'll be honest. One of these guys, I think I put a good jinx on him. So you can thank me later, San Diego fans. But before tonight, since May 19th, Fernando Tatis Jr. had been hitting 103 and minus 26 WRC plus, 36.7 K rate. He was really scuffling. 0 home runs, 0 runs, 0 RBIs in that time. What does he do tonight? As we record, he hits a home run. So you're welcome. And his teammate, Xander Bogaerts, even worse, 0.091 batting average since that time, minus 21 WRC plus, 0 RBIs, 1 run. He does not have a hit tonight. So the jinx has not worked on his side yet, but maybe that game still has some to go. And then back to the Rockies pitching side. It's amazing how many guys are above like a 7 ERA on that team. For the last month, Antonio Sanzatella has made 6 starts. So he's made all of his starts pitching every 5th day. 7.89 ERA, worst in the league easily over that time. 0-6, 1.96 whip, also worst. 356 batting average against. So guys are having fun hitting off of Sanzatella, and it's just that pitching staff is atrocious. I don't even know if atrocious is the right word. If we have a stronger word, I think we'll have to go to it. But yes, 7 ERAs, just kind of in a few different spots. Not good.
Yeah, it's long past just saying, well, it's Colorado, it's Denver, the air quality or the elevation. This is just historically bad, and it feels like it feeds on itself, and we're getting historic norms at this point. And it's not even, I don't think it's washing over people enough that what we're seeing right now, again, maybe we're just numb to it because you're watching bad baseball on a nightly basis. So maybe people in Colorado are just gearing up for the Broncos season at this point and the Avalanche or in college football or whatever. But man, we're watching some really bad stuff in a beautiful ballpark, by the way. Coors Field deserves better than what we're seeing in front of it.
Yeah, I think maybe it's partly just like it's the second year in a row we have someone maybe breaking the all-time losses record. And so it's like more of the same in a way, but you're right. It's like, how are we not all yelling about this every single day? That's how bad it is.
I think it's worse than people talking about. I think there's a level of just passiveness of acceptance of this, this ineptitude of the franchise. And it's not like we talked about just resetting and tanking or whatever it looks like. We talked about this in the offseason. They did nothing and they have no clear direction. It's not like, oh, they're breaking it down. This team is largely the same team that they brought out there, I guess, to be competitive at some point. They just haven't added year after year, and the teams around them have gotten better, but the league quality has just gone up, and they're not being able to keep up with everybody. Because if you look at a team like the Pirates, they've done nothing as well, but they have double the wins that the Rockies do. That tells you something.
It does. It does. Yeah, the Rockies record makes you feel like baseball needs to come up with like a relegation format. Like legitimately, like people joke about that, but like you look at that record and you seriously have to feel like, it's pretty much impossible for them to do, but it's like, can we actually consider this? Because this is pathetic.
It would certainly be something. I think our AAA systems would have to be a lot better, and these ballparks would have to be consistent. And EPL obviously is the example that Devin's referencing over here, with teams that if you don't play well enough, you get relegated back down to a minor league and they call somebody up. And we've seen it have magical moments here with teams that could belong. But I don't know, man. The owners, this country club of owners, I don't think would allow this to happen, because at any point you have a bad season and you wind up getting relegated. That's scary. I mean, we did it in our fantasy football league, and it just becomes like, it's a good idea when it's not you. But at any season, things can go wrong. Murphy's Law type of season, you could be in last place and you get relegated. They'll never sign off on that.
Yeah, I was hoping you didn't bring that up. By the way, the Cubs have tied the game. It's 3-3 against the Rockies. They have first and second, one out. So, the Rockies let that 10th win slip out of their grip already. We'll see if they can get it back.
Well, we'll give them until July 1st to get it. We'll see if they can grab it. But
God.
Let's head to coming around third and talk about what we're keeping our eye on for the rest of the week in baseball. All right, as we come around third here and wrap up episode 85, again, we want to thank you guys so much for listening and helping us here grow as the podcast. You follow us at Tablesetters Pod on Instagram and on X. Support us in any way you can. Again, go to Dugout Mugs, use code TS10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. For me, coming around third, it's an easy answer here. With the rematch from the World Series, the Yankees head into Tinseltown to take on the Dodgers. Both teams flying high, both teams sitting at the top of the division, both teams with almost identical records. Obviously, the Dodgers have one more win, but they also have one more loss. So we could be looking at teams with identical records on maybe a collision course come October. The ratings are going to be there. It is a late night game on a Friday. So if you guys work and have to be up in the morning, you don't got to worry about that on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this is what baseball looks for. Two teams that are juggernauts emerging, both defending their National League and American League pennant. and it's going to be very, very fun. We don't have any pitching matchups announced quite yet. All says TBD, but hopefully we get the best of both worlds and get some really exciting action with the best stars in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, Fried should be out there on the Friday night game if everything kind of lines up as it looks like it's going to. As for the Dodgers star pitcher, Yamamoto should be out there Sunday. So you got Fried, Yamamoto kind of bookending that series. That's kind of my answer as well, but I had a feeling you'd mention that one. So I'll go with the NCAA bracket, getting that thing started in just a few days here. I'll be keeping my eye on that one. Obviously, there's a long road ahead. That's going to go on for several weeks, but I'll be watching the start very closely. And then on my Mets side, I mean, this is the soft part of their schedule, right after a very hard part of their schedule that featured Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, some other teams. They took the first two of the Whites from the White Sox, have one more against them tomorrow afternoon. And then I believe they have an off day and then get to face the Rockies. So you mentioned you were a little legitimately pissed when the Yankees lost a game to the Rockies. I mean, listen, I think I'm going to feel the same way. Hopefully we can finish the sweep of the White Sox and then, get ready for the Rockies, and hopefully there's no letdown in there. One thing you don't want to see is you don't want to have one of those teams that kind of plays up and down to the level of the teams in front of them. You just want them to be consistent across the board. So I've been happy that they pulled out these first two games against the White Sox. The first one, it took them the whole game to get the lead, and it wasn't pretty, but again, a win is a win is a win. So lots of things to watch this weekend and ahead.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff for baseball as we approach them taking center stage. Obviously, the Stanley Cup is about to start. Will it be the Panthers heading back to, it looks like at this point, we know the Canes forced a game 5, but by all accounts, it looks like the Panthers are going to go in there defending their title over there. For the NBA side of things, the Knicks just fell to the Pacers, dropped game 4. So now they are down 3-1, heading back to MSG. Can they rally and win 3 straight against the Pacers? It's a tough one. And on the Western side, Timberwolves, OKC, whoever emerges from that series as well. But eventually baseball will take center stage is my point, and they will be the only game in town until we have the NFL start in the fall. So that's when people wake up from all their other sports-centric conversations, baseball will be there waiting for them, and there's a lot to catch up on, because if you weren't following baseball, well, jump on in. The water's fine. Yeah,
Shohei Ohtani hits his 20th tonight. I mean, he got off to a little bit of a slow start on Ohtani standards. And suddenly you look up, you blink an eye, and he's at 20 home runs through 55 games. Like, Ohtani's going to hit 60 this year, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, our good friend Dugout Dispatch at Hucky Corp on Twitter had said the same thing today. I saw him tweet that. And he said, quote, he's going to hit 60 home runs this year. It's in the script. And 20 home runs of the season. And this guy goes out there and absolutely puts on a show on a nightly basis. And, we even talk about Ronald Acuna Jr., by the way, too, which deserves some love coming back from an injury, and just first pitch he sees, throws it into the outfield. It's just fantastic. I don't know, man. Baseball is an embarrassment of riches when it comes to all these stars. It is obvious we are living in a golden era. We have to appreciate it. Baseball's in a really good spot. And I think the changes we've seen for the game have blossomed into what we're seeing here. The offense is a nice blend of the pitching. As we mentioned, there's stars on both sides of the ball.
No doubt. I think it's in a really, really good spot. Very, very healthy. Lots of faces of baseball, which is a cool problem to have, I guess you could put it that way. But you know what? I forgot. We didn't get our little, what's the dog's name again? What's Ohtani's dog's name? I can never remember it. Dispatch
what
or
is his
something?
dog's name? It's
I have a mental block. It's something with a D, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Decoy.
Domino Decoy. We were supposed to get a little Decoy image of we were debating whether it'd be how many days or how many hours until his next poop or his next meal or his next birthday. But I feel like we got to get that going at some point.
No, we definitely need something in the corner. The exact same Fox font of how many minutes until we have the Shohei Ohtani first at bat. We need how many times. We got to pick an activity for Decoy. Maybe it's not defecating. We don't know how often he's going to eat.
You think that's in bad taste? It's in bad taste.
No, it's not bad taste. I mean, dogs do what they do, man. Dogs go to the bathroom and dogs eat. That's really, and they sleep too. That's pretty much what they do. Decoy's a dog, man. He's a famous dog. He's a rich dog, but he's still a dog.
Yeah. He's still a dog. Yeah. All right, we'll work on it.
If you guys like the If you guys like the decoy conversation, there's not much of it happening, but we will sprinkle it, and we promise, because we know there's a lot of Dodgers fans out there that they're living and dying with everything the decoy does. But again, I said it before, follow us on X and on Instagram at Tablesetters Pod. Please, again, tell your friends about this show. It is a passion project. We absolutely love talking ball, college, baseball, MLB, across the board. This is a thing Devin and I get on here weekly, and we have a lot of fun doing this. And we are looking forward to having future guests on, some repeat guests as well. We've had some great guests. You can pop into our archive at this point. We're 85 episodes deep. Find some of the guests we've had on, and I think it's evergreen content no matter what. Even though we were talking about the timely things, a lot of our guests on here, you can go back, and some of them are like Nostradamus. They're predicting the future. Some conversations will put you in the know about maybe things that will happen again in the future. The Mike DiGiovanna thing, I went back and listened to that audio interview, and the audio was a little jagged as far as the microphone goes, but we talked to him at a pivotal time of the Dodger season, and a lot of things he said rung true for what happened in October. So you can go back and piece it together, whether it's Jared Sandler, you want to know about the Texas Rangers, go back and check that episode out. But we've had a lot of great guests. We appreciate everyone that's come on here, and we're looking forward to having them back on, and also some future guests that are going to provide more insight.
Yeah, and even a recent one, just 2 episodes ago, Tim Dillard. I posted another clip or two from that one, and it just kind of reminded me, like, that's such a good conversation. If you have not listened to that one, Brewers fan or not, because yeah, it's technically Brewers centric, but like we talked about baseball in general, we talked about Tim's career, and he just had a lot of great insight. Funny dude, charismatic, but also super insightful. That's a great one to listen to. It's super recent, but evergreen anyway, even if you listen to it a couple months from now. The last dive bar, the episode we did with them before the Athletics left Oakland, still a lot of that rings true and is worth a listen if you never listened or you joined us after that episode. Divine Sports Gospel, I mean, talk about entertaining. We'll definitely try to get them back on at some point this season, but that conversation was hysterical at times and insightful as well. So there's lots, and maybe one day we'll try to post up like these are our evergreen episodes, so you know exactly what to look for and where to look.
Absolutely. So we will be back next week talking all things baseball, breaking down everything that happened with the Dodgers and the Yankees, catching you guys up on the NCAA tournament as it takes hold here. For Devin, I'm Steve, and we will talk to you after a while.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone in a year that has been